and welcome to the first episode of the podcast. I'm Noah.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Charlie.
The podcast is a student-run podcast showcasing IB students past, present and future while they describe their IB journeys with the hosts. We discuss relevant information and news, ask the important and difficult questions about the IB, and share stories about our experiences. New and exciting changes will happen each week with our guests, and we hope you follow along the journey with us.
Hello everybody, my name is Noah. I am from Brisbane, Australia, and I'm currently a second year IB student. My subjects are higher level language and literature, biology and psychology. My standard level subjects are French, ab initio, mathematics, applications and interpretations, and environmental systems and societies. I play the trumpet in my school concert and jazz bands. In my free time, I like to watch and play sports, and I often find myself going to the gym with my friends. My friends would describe me as loud, enthusiastic, and a strong communicator. This year, I have the privilege of being the school captain at my school. I'm looking forward to starting this amazing podcast journey with my fellow hosts and you guys listening at home.
Hi, I'm Jess. I'm a second year IB student from Brisbane, Australia. My passions are music, literature, and my Duolingo streak. I am part of the student council, being a representative for my class. I'm a musician both inside and outside of school, and enjoy exploring new areas of knowledge within the arts and sciences. My HL subjects are language and literature, music, and biology, and my SL subjects are maths AI, ESS, and Japanese ab initio. In my free time, I listen to and play music, occasionally play video games, and pick up random hobbies. I'm an introvert, but I always enjoy spending time with my co-hosts and classmates as we are all very close. I'm very excited to start the IB podcast, and I think it will be great to see the progression of confidence and knowledge over this time, and I'm glad to be able to do that with my co-hosts on the same journey.
Hi, my name's Charlie. I'm originally from Mackay and I moved to Brisbane in 2019 and I've lived here ever since. I'm a second year IB student and a sport enthusiast that loves a wide variety of sports. Some of these include F1, NFL and NRL. I am also a student council representative and I play the trombone in my jazz bands and concert bands in my school. I take standard level chemistry, psychology and ab initio Japanese. My high level subjects are applications and interpretations, mathematics, physics and English. When I'm not doing schoolwork or working my job, I enjoy playing video games, reading, and spending time with people and working out. My friends describe me as funny, outgoing, and risk-taking, and I cannot wait to do this IB podcast with you guys.
Welcome. I am
Awesome.
so
Thank
excited
you.
to do this with you guys. It's going to be so good. And I hope you guys at home enjoy listening to this as well. In our podcast, we have segments where we talk about certain things. Before each segment, we'll describe to you what it is. It's going to be pretty similar each week, but when we have a guest, we'll have questions for the guest, and yeah, that's when we ask the guests certain questions. On this episode, it's more of an introduction for us, so you guys can probably get to meet us and know who we are. So our first segment is Updates of the Week. Now, Updates of the Week is where we talk about what is happening with us in our IB journey, especially with second year. What have you guys been up to start of the IB year?
Well, recently, I've just finished one of my music recordings for my music portfolio. That was yesterday, and that was very exciting. How about you?
I'm currently finished and just touching up my chemistry IA proposal for the trials for our method to make sure that it works properly so we don't blow people up.
Yeah, so right now, our whole IB cohort of the second year IB students, right now we are being introduced to the IAs and starting to properly execute the IAs and learning how to write them. And yeah, so for me, I do biology, and we've already done all our experimentation. Mine's still going a little bit. But yeah, we're starting to experiment and starting to write our introductions and starting to analyze the data that we have. Pretty stressful.
Yes.
Especially
It's
having
a very stressful class.
especially having to follow a specific criteria. And yeah, plus all the other subjects. I believe you have an IA for physics right now as well.
Yes, yeah. It's for measuring the speed of sound through different media, which is just like basically the the space that the sound's traveling through.
So that's you're focusing your IA on.
That's my IA.
Yeah.
And just data analysis now. It's very weird because some of our IAs are well and truly through. Like our psychology, we're starting our experiments, and some like
Yeah,
for
next
bio,
week,
I think
hey.
you guys are doing experiments.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, like for math, I'm just starting on figuring out what I'm gonna
Yeah,
do.
that's same for
Yeah.
us. We're just talking about our maths IAs right now, and also our ESS ones.
Yeah. From what I've heard, our math, like, AI, no, not AI, IA, sorry, gonna happen a little bit later. But
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just spacing it out. 'Cause
Yeah.
the teacher's very considerate about that, so we
Yeah.
all don't have a panic attack at the same time.
yeah, I think that's the best thing about the IB is having teachers that understand and support us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, especially when it's in times like this where there's so many assessments. The teachers know that we do need a bit of a break, and it does need to be spaced out, and they're completely understanding of that. And they all different subjects, all the teachers work together to find a perfect time to assess us, so it doesn't interfere with any
Yeah.
other subject.
Yeah.
So I think that's perfect.
But I don't think the IB requires that of them. Like that's something that they've done and gone out of their way too. All like the IB, they just want to get their marks. So the fact that they're doing that is also
Yeah.
greatly appreciated.
Yeah. In 2 weeks' time, we will be doing our language and literature IOs.
Ooh.
I believe we are all in the middle of writing out what we will be saying. Our
Yes.
proposals have been sent in and have been approved. Right now, it's just writing them out and just
Yeah.
making sure we have the right points.
Yeah, because
Mm.
I'm writing it out and then deconstructing it back down into dot points. And then I just feel like that's a lot easier. And some people have already completely write it out and they're memorizing it. And some people haven't even started writing. It's just,
Yeah.
It's just different. Like,
It
I like-
depends on like what your learning style or like memorizing
Yeah,
style, because it
exactly.
is very much a memorizing sort of task.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
some people like to go in there and just
on the fly.
look
Yeah.
at the dot points. I'm someone that would like to memorize my
Yeah.
speech. Like, I guess
Well,
we
it's
could call it a
just-
speech.
It's just getting your confidence up. I think that's mainly the memorization. Because no matter what, you're not going to memorize
Yeah,
all those words.
exactly.
It's
No.
probably going to be like 1,000 words roughly.
Yeah, I have two.
Yeah.
We
Well,
have
it's running for 10 minutes and then 5 minutes questions.
yeah, we have two people in our class right now just remembering it already, and it's making me a little stressed
Yeah.
out. But I'm just trying to make sure I have all my key points,
Yeah, that's
and
the
like
main thing.
yeah, and that they're strong as well. So yeah. Our next thing that we are doing right now is our EEs. I think they're going. I think we could say
Yeah.
they're in full swing. Our
Yeah.
pre-draft is due in 2 weeks as well, the same time as
Yeah.
our IOs.
Is the pre-draft that's not
It's-
actually the draft. So
No,
it's
no,
just like an
it's like
outline,
two,
isn't it?
It's like-
2000 to 2,500 words.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh.
yeah.
I thought it was 1,000.
I thought
Oh,
it was
good.
1,000.
Yeah.
Mm.
I feel like it's just like a good. It's like a starting point.
Check-up.
They don't want everything in there. They just want a good baseline to make sure that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's the main point. It's more of a checkup and to make sure, like, okay, we need to pick up the pace a little bit, or you know what, you're doing pretty good. Maybe
Yeah.
focus on some other stuff.
I think
Yeah.
it's just to make sure that like what you're analyzing and like what you're talking about is actually meeting the EE criteria.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've had to change my research question. I'd probably say 4 times.
Yeah.
It's just because I wasn't meeting one of the EE criterias, and that's the discovery. My research question was something that I already knew the answer to, and the EE coordinator was pointing that out to me, and that I had to rearrange it to make it more discovery. And yeah, I'm really happy with it now. Currently, I'm doing a little bit of research, but I'll probably start writing that very soon. I picked an EE topic that I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah, so I'm not like, oh, I have to write it. I'm like, yes, I get to write this. And yeah, just talk about like my point of view and stuff. So yeah, I'm quite excited
Yeah.
to write my EE.
What is your EE about?
I am looking at war propaganda and how they like portray males and females over like different time periods, and like how specifically how like the Australian government, 'cause I'm looking at Australian war propaganda, how they have like used masculinity to like their advantage to try and increase like conscriptions and stuff. It's a little bit more.
Wow.
So yeah, but and femininity as well. So I am. Yeah, it's and what I've found is just I just can't wait to talk about it. I guess you guys will have
And
to
that's what
wait.
you need. You need to
Yeah.
be passionate.
I guess you guys will have to wait a little bit later on in the season
Oh.
to hear how it's going. But yeah, right. I'm excited.
That's good.
What about you, Jess?
Very similar. Had ideas of what I wanted my topic to be. I thought I settled on one and then came to the realization that it was just not going to work out. I didn't fully scrap it. I just changed it around to fit me a little bit better. And now I think I'm on the right track. I know what I'm doing, and I'm passionate about what I'm doing, which is good. That's very important for the EE. You've really got to enjoy it because it is 3,000, 4,000 words. You want to know what you're doing.
Yeah. What is your topic exactly?
All right. So I'm looking at intertextuality and the theme of the rise and fall of empires and how it is present in the album Impera.
And album Impera, who the artist?
It was written by Ghost.
Your favorite?
My favorite.
Yeah.
If anyone knows me, that is my favorite band. Which
Yeah. I remember the week you saw Ghost. You and I were just singing Mary on a Cross the
Yeah.
whole time. And I think our class was getting sick of it, but
yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm glad that you like some content.
yeah. I'm really interested by Charlie's. I'm not a
Yes.
physics student at
I
all.
know.
I don't really get it. But Charlie,
got a good
please,
topic.
can you please
Tell us.
tell everyone your topic?
So I decided to be incredibly difficult on myself.
Of course.
And I am it's a very open-ended research question. It's basically how do we get a cargo ship to Mars using current technology? So obviously, there's normally two types for science EE: is a experiment or a simulation or data. And obviously, I can't create a rocket actually.
Even though that would be pretty cool.
That
Yeah,
would
I
be
think
cool.
you would
be
have the
very cool.
best EE.
Yeah, but I don't have like millions of dollars. But I'm creating a simulation using MATLAB, which is a programming software, and Flight Gear as well, which is like a way to visualize it. And I'm basically coding a simulation of it, and I'm gathering research, doing calculations, and it's a lot of work, and I have to teach myself a lot of stuff. Like I have to learn differential equations, which is basically connecting. Like if I use dot points to figure out where the rocket's going, I have to use differential equations to connect those dot points.
Yeah, you've made it very hard on yourself.
Yeah.
See, as a
Yeah.
as a person that doesn't do physics
Yeah.
and like high level math,
Just amazing.
yeah, it's very hard to understand. But yeah,
Yeah.
so you're interested in the topic.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's-
I have to be because it's just insane.
Yeah.
The differential equations is the last topic of math that we ever do in school. So it's the
Oh,
hardest
wow.
hardest level of
So you're
math I
doing
will
it
ever
now.
learn in
Mm.
high school.
Have you always been interested in space and stuff like that?
Yeah, that and like race cars and stuff, as you could tell by my F1 passion.
yeah,
But it's my ideas kind of led to more towards the rocket, just because of that's an area that I'm not as familiar with, and with the EE you want to be discovering.
Yeah,
Mm.
So it's just spend a lot of time. I have to teach myself how to program. It's just a lot of teaching myself, and I'll definitely find out who I am at the end of it.
and that's what you need. I feel like that's
Yeah.
what the whole point of the EE is, to like learn something new, and maybe like discover yourself in a different way, like how you research, how you go about writing this thing. I feel like the stuff that the IB includes is for a purpose. It's not just because this is gonna chuck it in because I want to see what they can do there. It's just to like improve us as learners. I feel like, and as global learners as well.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna move on to the next segment, Noah. So you
Yeah.
take that away from me.
So our next segment is called Global and Australian News. Because we are IB students, we like to take a broader perspective and not only focus in on like local news but also global news. And yeah, staying up to date with like global and like being able to like be a global learner as well, which is the main idea of IB, I guess. Alrighty, Jess, take it away with your global news.
Alrighty. Okay, so our first piece of global news is that the 66th annual Grammy Awards were over the past week, which is pretty exciting. As anyone who enjoys music,
Yeah, especially 'cause we're
big
musicians.
big music fans. So some of the like biggest awards. So the album of the year was Midnights by Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I'm
Makes
familiar. I'm
sense.
familiar
Yeah.
with.
You're
I'm
familiar?
familiar with that.
Really?
That
Who's-
musician called Taylor Swift. I am
Ooh,
familiar.
who's that? Yeah.
Yeah, especially because she's coming to Australia in a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah.
A lot of
And
people
it's
flying
all
to
over.
Sydney.
It's
There's
all
quite a
over
few-
our news.
There's quite a few countdowns on school whiteboards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people are flying down to Sydney.
Yeah, during
Go.
school to go and see Taylor Swift, which I think is fair enough. Like, hasn't
Yeah.
come here in a little while.
Oh,
Once in a
definitely.
lifetime. Once in a lifetime
One-
experience.
yeah. Did your Ghost get nominated for any?
Yeah, so
Awards.
Ghost actually got nominated for Best Metal Performance for one of their covers of Phantom of the Opera.
Oh,
Iron Maiden.
I'm also familiar with that one.
Yeah.
I like musicals, so that's from a musical, yeah. From
No.
memory. Phantom of the Opera.
No, that's the song by Iron Maiden.
The song.
The song Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden. They did a cover of it.
And did they win?
No.
Oh, who do you know who won?
Yeah, I think Metallica did for one of theirs. Yeah, Metallica did for 72 seasons.
Ah,
Yeah.
damn. Wha-
Shame, but
What a shame.
Ghost has won in the past before.
yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
Do you remember what they won?
Yeah, in 2016 they won Best Metal Performance for Cerise.
Was that
Ah.
a cover or original
No,
song?
that's an original song.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how even a cover can still get nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are your opinions on covers, actually?
Oh, that's a good topic.
Yeah.
I really like covers. I feel like they bring new depth to previously made song, especially if it's not just rinse and repeat, use the old backing track and just have a new vocalist. If they actually go through and ahead and like change out like melody lines or change instrumentation, that's really cool. And I think covers are really cool to just, it shows the diversity within a musician. If they
Yeah,
can
definitely.
perform another song.
I like covers because I feel like it offers a different perspective on like how a song can be played. Like what was I think there was like Baby Come Back by like Ocean Alley was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it offered like a new like hipster sort of vibe.
Mm.
And like I really like how they covered that and did that differently. Like it may take it away from the original artist, but I feel like it offers a new perspective, and I feel like music is so broad, and like being able to like cover something and change the perspective, I feel like this shows that music has the power to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
also the you can see the author's like the songwriter's like voice and how they make songs, and you can see that come through. One song that I actually listen to as a cover that's covered a lot is like Fast Car.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I listen to the Luke Combs version.
Yeah, I love
and
that
you can
version
just
as well.
see how he adds his own flair to it,
Yeah.
and how he sings, and it shows you like not the creativity in a different way, and just allows you to see how they can add to something without having to come up with it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing about that, there's a lyric in there, check out girl, and he keeps it, just to pay respect to the original artist. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I thought that was nice that he obviously Luke Combs, like a big country man, and singing like check out girl. I feel like that's, I don't know, I feel like that's still paying respect to the original artist, which I
Yeah.
was really a
Yeah.
fan of.
Really humble.
Alrighty, Charlie, what's your news of the week?
So the news of the week for me is that the King of England, King Charles, has been diagnosed with cancer.
Do you know what type?
No, we do not.
Do they not?
No, 'cause it's like a obviously you're a very big important person. You don't want to.
Yeah.
Have your
Reveal.
medical information
Yeah.
publicly
Yeah.
available.
But from what's the news.com? It's like generally people are also suspecting this. That's he doesn't know, but it's not prostate cancer. However, they did discover that during his recent treatment, for an enlarged prostate, so maybe that's the reason. But he's not a young buck. He's
no,
he's an old
definitely
man.
not.
And I like these sort of conversations, like having like discussions about like the British monarchy, because as Australians, we're still a lot of our influence is due to like the British monarchy.
Yeah, because we're part of the Commonwealth. Hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we're still independent, which is I
Yeah.
think very
Yeah.
interesting. Is that some countries that got colonized by England, when they got independence, they got rid of anything to do with them. Like the Union Jack got removed from their flag. And I think it's just interesting how we still have that connection despite being independent of them.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
interesting to think about.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, I know from like my family, especially my mum, she's like obsessed with like the British monarchy. I
Yeah.
remember during like when the Queen passed away, this like the whole like the funeral and stuff, it was constantly on, and mum just kept informing me what was happening and like what all like these certain like traditions meant. And with the King's coronation, like that was a big thing.
Yeah.
I think I had a couple people over on that day as well
Yeah.
to watch the King's coronation. So, even though obviously none of my family come from a British background, like it's still like very important to my family as well.
Yeah.
I know you have some British heritage.
Yeah. So my parents are from the UK. I feel like I'm in a very odd position where I don't feel very connected to the British
Yeah,
monarchy.
yeah.
I don't feel like too many Australians, especially like young Australians, do nowadays. It's trying to get that fine line between we're gonna acknowledge this, and then also like it's not really ours, is it? We don't really have that much of a connection to it anymore.
But I'm as same with you, Jess.
Yeah.
Are you fully British?
Yeah, my parents have moved over. here.
I'm half British, so I still same as you. I don't really have that connection, and I just feel like again, it's just like you feel like you kind of should like you should have some sort of like just keeping an eye on it and checking it up. But it's always interesting to just keep on learning what other people like other countries and stuff are doing, and it's just being part of that global learner.
Yeah, speaking of what other countries are doing, the Super Bowl is happening on Monday. I'm currently recording this episode in a Patrick Mahomes jersey. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan.
Unfortunately.
No, I love Patrick Mahomes. So, for us, obviously Super Bowl Sunday, but for us in Australia, it is on Monday, February the 12th. And it was at 9:30, and the Super Bowl is between the 49ers and the Chiefs, and it is held at Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas. Obviously my favorite player is in the Super Bowl, so I'll be watching it. It sucks that it's during last time, but yeah, I can't wait to rewatch the game. And the halftime performer is Usher.
Yeah.
I've been seeing so many like TikToks of people predicting like what his first song's gonna be and stuff like that, and I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, well, it's just interesting how much thought and like effort that people put into like such an event. Like for example, the NRL Grand Final. No one will be making like conspiracies about that. There's no halftime show, and I think that kind of highlights the American values more predominant.
It's
on
very
sport.
much.
Yeah.
It seems to be like presented as like a holiday. It's like a
Super Bowl Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
All caps.
So a fact about the Super Bowl is that the 2024 ticket prices are one of the most expensive in history.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's because of the fact that it's held in Las Vegas.
Definitely.
So yeah. And looking at, I've searched up on Microsoft Bing, like Super Bowl 2024.
Bing.
And they have the win probability pretty much even, 53.4% to the 49ers and
Really?
46.6% to the Chiefs.
So
So
they
I
reckon
think,
the 49ers are going to win.
but it's very, very
Yeah.
slim margin. But yeah, I don't know. That's quite exciting. Obviously, the quarterback for the 49ers got drafted last in his draft class.
Yeah, the last pick. So
Yeah.
if he did not get drafted, he doesn't know if he's playing in the
Yeah, he
NFL.
wouldn't play again. And I think that's
Wow.
like super inspirational
Yeah.
that he was picked last, but was probably one of the most valuable players on his team.
Yeah.
And it shows that like you don't need to have all these like certain like things like these physical features like being like so tall, being able to throw the ball so long. I think it's just about the knowledge of the game. And I think the quarterback for the 49ers, which is Brock Purdy, does that really well. And I can't wait to see the matchup between him and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll be going for my boy Patrick Mahomes, but
I'm going for Brock Purdy. I don't like the Chiefs. They knocked out my favorite team, the Buffalo Bills. And just touching back on Brock Purdy, he's got a similar story to Tom Brady, arguably the GOAT of NFL. And he didn't have any flashy features. Like if you're a manager of your team, you're like can't throw the ball. He can't run around.
He was one of the slowest 40-yard dashers of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Me and Noah could almost run as fast as him,
Damn.
and we're not.
We're
not
NFL athletes.
Yeah.
And I think it shows that at the end of the day, if you put in the work and you dedicate to your craft, that is you get one opportunity and you skyrocket.
Yeah, just don't take no for an answer. If you
No.
believe you can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
So
Good
yeah.
advice.
Yeah. So speaking of advice, we're gonna move on to our next segment, which is tips and tricks, where we offer some tips and tricks about the IB Diploma, and each week we'll have a different theme for it. So this week's theme, obviously we've talked about IAs and EEs, is how did we come up with our research question? I think we'll start with you, Charlie, first. Which one? Are you going to talk about your physics or EE?
I'll talk about my EE because it's obviously a little bit more interesting. But the way I thought about it, which it was just kind of listing out what I will enjoy and what I know that I can spend hours on end just writing and researching and whatever else. And also on kind of where I want to go in the future, because some people don't know what they want to do, and I'm pretty lucky in that I know almost definitely what I want to do outside of high school, and using that as a focus for my EE has allowed it to kind of grow into something that I will enjoy and maybe look back on in the future. But it's just looking at what you like, because that's the main thing, and then kind of building off that and branching in, like however you do it, mind maps kind of. It was more in my head than anything on a physical page, but some people might do that differently. And it was sort of like a moment that just clicked and like, yep, that's what I'm going to do. And
So you trusted your gut pretty much. You're like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to find out.
Yep. And
Okay.
when I figured out, obviously, no matter what, you don't know everything. So I checked with my would-be potential supervisor, which is a teacher at our school, and just check with him, check with the teachers, be like, look, is this complicated enough? Am I able to do it? Is it too far from my reach? Like, is it university level stuff? And once I figured out that I, could do it within what the IB wants you to do, then that was it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jess,
Yeah.
how did you come up with yours, and what advice would you give?
Yeah. Now I'm going to talk about my EE as well. So it was, like I said earlier, it was a lot of back and forth between me and my EE supervisor, just bouncing off ideas. I had an idea. I definitely wanted to talk about the rise and fall of empires. Originally I had it between, I wanted to look at 3 different sources and then look at that, and between like literature, musical, and film sources. But after a while of discussion, we came to the conclusion that that might not be the best, would not be able to go in depth enough about that. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked to my EE coordinator, and we sat down and we had a little conversation about it. And we finally came across the idea that she knows that I'm very passionate about the album, that I will put in the effort to go into depth about that. And that was really good to see that she knew that I had a focus. And then we started brainstorming a little bit more, and then the topic of intertextuality came up as I was discussing that a couple of the songs actually have pretty explicit references to historical events, like the burning of the Library of Alexandria and the Jack the Ripper killings. And so she was like, oh, how about we talk about intertextuality? And I was like, yes, we're going to do that now, which is really good. So I'm really glad with how my questions sort of come about.
Yeah. Well, my EE, like, obviously we have the same EE coordinator, but she also helped me with my EE, like, question. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about my biology IA research question.
Mm-hmm.
So, you guys have both suggested, doing something that, like, you're going to be super interested in.
Yeah.
And I also agree with that. But, like, the topic that I wanted to do, it wasn't possible. And my teacher had to suggest other options. And then I was thinking, like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. Like, the one thing I was pretty much already researching it before I got the nod to do it, and I obviously didn't get the nod to start to do that. So I was like thinking, and then it actually just happened. I was at dinner one time, and it started raining outside. And then, my dad was like, oh, like, lucky this isn't, because we just mowed the lawn. He's like, lucky, like, our rain isn't acidic, because it's going to, like, destroy our lawn. And my brother, he's younger, and he was like, oh, like, that won't affect the grass and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure it would. I'm pretty sure, like, disrupts some things in the plant. And then, like, it just was a big debate. And I was like, oh, I could do this for my biology IA. So, the next day went into class and I said to my teacher, hey, I want to look at how acid rain affects plant growth. And she goes, yeah, that would be good. Like, there's so many things how we can simulate that. I'm like, yeah, I really want to do that. Like, I started with this big debate last night. I'm like, I actually want to research this. So right now I feel like my whole family's behind me. And from the research that I have right now, it does. But, so that's how I got mine. It's just from, like, just being curious about something. It's not like I wouldn't go, oh, I'm super interested in acid rain, but I was curious about it.
Yeah, and that's all it takes. It's just a little bit of, oh, I wonder if, oh, I wonder what that does. And that's how
so
it all
I wasn't
starts.
like, oh, I'm like, I just wanted to see how acid rain affects plants. It's been like, oh, does it actually affect plant growth, and how does it affect plant growth? And like, it just started off with just a little conversation with my family, and this is how this is what my IA is on now. So so I think from the tips and tricks that we suggested for creating an EE and, like, IA or IO question is something you're really passionate about, but also something you're curious about, and something that you don't know the answer to.
Yeah, 'cause it's got to be open-ended for you to have that complexity. But also collaborating with other people and getting advice from everyone, and just 'cause at the end of the day, you're one perspective, and you might talk with someone and be like, and they bring a perspective, and you're like, oh, I never would have thought of that. That's something that I can use and take advice on, and maybe and even if they bring that perspective and you don't, like, it doesn't apply to your thing, no matter what, it's good to get those different perspectives so that you have the ability to do what you want with them and to add them or not to add them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And not only, like, with your teacher or with your supervisor, but with your friends, with your family, anyone. If you just talk to them about it, and then I feel like a lot of people closest to you will be the realist about, oh, will this actually work? They'll be very straightforward with you.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's what the teachers are like. Obviously, I was really keen on this idea. And, like, teacher said, no, you can't. It's not going to work. I've had people try and it failed.
Yep.
So, just, like, being, like, super honest and being, like, and offering advice that is going to help you in the future, as well. So I think that's, like the IB offers teachers and, like, support. I feel like no other program,
no, you wouldn't get this amount of support probably with any other program.
Alrighty, so we're gonna move on to our next segment, and that is called Object of the Week. Now, Object of the Week comes from one of the subjects in IB, which is TOC, theory of knowledge. An object is where you get like an image or an article or anything, and you like analyze it and you think about maybe the meaning behind it, and like and it's like based off like a certain question.
Yeah.
As you can see on the screen right now, our object of the week is the Captain Cook statue being vandalized. Can you give us a little history lesson behind that one, Charlie?
So for people that are not aware, Australia was originally in the custody of the traditional owners, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and around, was it 1700s, late 1700s?
Yep.
Yep. The British settlers came in and said, "Oh, this is no one's taking this land," not realizing that the traditional owners were owners of the land. And Captain Cook was the captain of the ship that first made contact with Australia.
The first fleet.
First
from
fleet,
memory.
first
Yeah.
fleet. In Sydney Harbour. Sydney Harbour.
Ye-
Ooh, yeah, I think
Sydney
so.
or Melbourne, one of the
No.
two.
Yeah.
One of the two. But there's a statue.
Dedicated to Captain Cook.
Yeah.
Dedicated to Captain Cook for
He, yeah,
find
he's-
his land. And there's obviously a bit of controversy surrounding that, because
obviously
there's
Australia Day recently passed January 26th, and I feel like Australia Day is shows like divides Australia.
It really does.
definitely.
And like the Captain Cook statue has been vandalized I'm pretty sure for like the past few years on Australia Day, and they keep refurbishing it and keep putting it back up, and every single Australia Day gets taken down and vandalized. I like the I'm gonna ask that again. So the question that I'm asking is, to what point are they gonna keep putting up the statue and fixing it up, and for it just to get vandalized again?
Well, essentially the people that are against Australia Day and therefore would be connected to the vandalizing of the Captain Cook statue is that they're against Australia Day being on the day that the first fleet arrived. And I feel like if they get what they want, which is essentially to either move the date or abolish the day as a whole, I feel like that would be reduced. But no matter what, because of how many people are in Australia, that there will be diversity on any topic, and I feel like it would be reduced. But no matter what, there would still be vandalized. Maybe not every year, maybe not the same amount, but there's still people who want to voice their opinions, and they do it in a way that vandalizes properly.
Yeah. Like another question I have is like is the problem Australia Day or the statue itself or the person?
I feel like it's a mixture of the two, because in the perspective of just
The First Nations people?
yeah, exactly. I would honestly feel quite appalled that like a figure who to many people they view him as an amazing a great traveler and a great
Explorer,
yeah. And but knowing the dark history, and I feel like that's not talked about enough. Australia has a really dark history. It's a very dark history between when the first fleet came until not very long ago.
Yeah. Well,
With the stolen generations, it's not talked about enough. And I feel like this statue getting vandalized, it's a very good message, like, but to sort of
to like the Australian government.
yeah, and just to like a lot of like white Australians to just keep on reminding you, hey, this is not okay. There's a reason we keep on doing this. Don't keep on cleaning it and then putting it back up, because we're gonna do it again. So you understand how this makes us feel.
And like, I think as you said, like the perspective of the First Nations people. I feel like that's something for me that IB has taught me, is understanding different people's perspectives and like different cultures as well. And yeah, I feel like the older version of me would not wouldn't try to understand that
Like
perspective.
pre IB.
Yeah, but now I feel like you have to understand different people's perspectives, and like try and like understand as to why they may be
Yeah.
doing that.
I think that's sorry. I just think that's the main problem that these people who are vandalising have with the Australian government is they're not understanding
understanding
it
their perspective
and not talking with them about it. And that's something personally I think we lack as a country is the openness with the people and letting the people have their own voice. And I feel like if we had that, then no matter how controversial, no matter how dark, no matter how difficult the conversation will be, they still need to be discussed. And I feel
it's an important one, especially for a nation of like our type. It's very important to have a connect to Indigenous culture and Indigenous history, and to look at how that impacts society here now.
and definitely something like in school, I didn't really learn Aboriginal culture or where they come from.
we
or
learnt
the
we
history
learnt about the
it.
first fleet. I remember in primary school, basically from grade 3.
Yeah, 3.
That's all we learnt in history. We never really
Just that exists.
and
exists.
yeah, and the gold rush, and that was really all we learnt.
Yeah, and not how it affected the other, like
just
the First Nations people. Just like
No.
we did this. This is how Australia was formed.
yeah, and
There was nothing like about like the millions of people killed in doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm
But
sure
what-
I'm sure the curriculum's improved or changed over the time, because it's been quite a while since we were that young, but still.
I feel like no matter what, that like we're not saying like tell children who are like 6, 7 years old like, oh yeah, there was mass murders, but still bring it in a way that they're aware of it, and you need to grow it up with them as they get older and more understanding, because no matter what, we need that understanding no matter how old you are.
Yeah, bring attention to it. Well, that is what talk does. And
Damn.
it makes you think.
It makes you
about
think a lot.
It makes you think about thinking. We would like to thank you guys for joining us on this podcast. We can't wait to see you guys next week. Just to summarize our key points, especially with the tips and tricks, selecting a topic for your research question for either biology, physics, chemistry, or EE itself, is make it something that you're really, really interested in, something that you're passionate about, but also something you're curious about as well. So thank you guys for joining us once again. We hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please leave it down and below in the comment section. Alrighty.
Thank you so
No
much.
worries.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Alrighty.
guys.
See you guys.
See
See ya.